You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Venazzi from OptionFit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionFit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That rockin' tune means it is time to rock out once again with the Option Block coming at you one final time for this week, at least, before our holiday hiatus here in the U.S. Of course, Thanksgiving holiday coming up, so no show on Thursday. We'll see if we can get a best of or something else out for you. Everyone here wants to go spend time with their families here, so we apologize. And, of course, markets are closed, so you wouldn't be getting any color commentary for us that day anyway. So the Option Block, pretty much it for the week here for the old Options Insider Radio Network. We'll be back at you, of course, with our regular schedule of programming here, kicking off again next week on Monday and going all the way through the week. So there's a little bit of a hiatus here for the live shows here for the rest of the week. And, of course, you guys know where to get at us for this live Thanksgiving Palooza extravaganza. Call it what you will here. Of course, Mixlr.com is the place to go to begin your Odyssey MIXLR for the all live stream. TheOptionInsider.com is the place to go for pretty much everything else. And however you listen live after the fact, hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, pearls of wisdom. We do indeed like to hear from you guys. And joining me on the program today, let's see who we've got. First, let's go out to the hinterlands of these fine United States where they may celebrate Thanksgiving. Maybe they have their own Main Day. I don't know what they call it. Let's find out. He is the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com by way of Carmen Line Capital. Mr. G, welcome back to the program, sir.
Hey, how you doing? It's sunny and beautiful in Maine today with a little breeze.
How is Main Day? Is that what you guys celebrate this week, or do you have some other holiday?
Oh, Main Day? It's I think every day is a nice day in Maine. I know for the average person, they'll never come here because it is as far away from anything as maybe Key West. But it is quite nice and pleasant. So there's snow in the mountains for the skiers, and it's too cold for the clammers right now. So they're not stealing my clams.
There you go. Clam piracy frozen out there in Maine. Now let's go to a place where I don't think he's too frozen. He is, of course, holding down the active trader hot seat. Mr. Trey Jarrell, the last dad of Krypton. Mr. Trey, welcome back to the program, sir.
Yeah, glad to be back. And I concur with Andrew. Maine is very nice. I like to visit it, but specifically in July, that 1 month where it's where my Florida blood will be okay up there. But aside from that, I'll stick to the nice sunny Florida weather.
Yeah, not a lot of freezing out going on down there in sunny Florida. And last but not least, good old Uncle Mike Tussaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the program, to you as well.
Always happy to be here.
Uncle Mike, I actually had you on the brain this weekend because I had an Uncle Mike kind of weekend. Take a guess what I did. Take a guess what came to town this weekend, sir.
Oh, let's see. I'll say something pro wrestling.
Yes.
Something football. Oh, no, pro wrestling. What
yes,
did you guys do?
WWE Survivor Series came to town.
You guys went to it.
We went and checked it out. Yes, my little guy is deep into the wrestling, and he has lured me back to the dark side. And that's what he wanted more than anything for his birthday, was check out the Survivor. So we went and did. There's a four event extravaganza: Survivor Series, NXT War Games, Friday Night SmackDown, and then it's not even over. I go back for one more tonight for Monday Night Raw. So it was a palooza extraordinaire, indoor pyro explosions, people falling off cages from 25 feet in the air. I have to say, quite the spectacle, sir. I think you would have been pleased.
Wow. That's impressive. That is really impressive. Still doesn't compare to the golden age of back in our day, I'm sure, but nonetheless, it's still cool.
Well, not much can hang with, Macho versus Warrior and all that great stuff. But I got to say, it is, because if you're like me, quick wrestling aside here, if you're like me and you hadn't really watched it since those days, those golden days, you're kind of coming to it afresh, anew. It is very much a different beast now. It's not the big Andres and Hogans anymore. It's much smaller guys who are flipping all over the place and doing some crazy, death-defying. Look up some highlights from this weekend for the War Games if you want to see probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in a live sporting spectacular. The whole Allstate Arena thought these people were dead. It was impressive on that level. Let's see if we can deliver something equally impressive as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's dive on into the Trading Block. It's funny. We've been, how long? 16 months now. We've been talking about this trade war. The will they, won't they, on again, off again dance that is the trade war. It continues as we roll on into this shortened holiday week, getting mixed signals. Last week we saw Trump saying we can make a deal, but depends if I want to. And we saw China saying they wanted a deal, but they're not afraid to retaliate. And a lot of back and forth going on that. So we're still kind of feeling some of that. China saying they want to work out an interim phase one kind of deal, and that seems to be helping maybe lift some of the markets today. Most of the major indices firmly in the green today. The Dow is the laggard today, only up about 0.5%. S&P up about 2/3%. NASDAQ up over 1%, about 1.2%. So feeling the love coming into this truncated holiday week. Gold and crude actually taking a bit of a break. Actually, crude's kind of unched. WTI is pretty much unched, right around 57 in the orders or so. Gold off about 0.5%. So again, all this green on the street means gold taking a break. Not exactly surprising. Let's see if Vol also is taking a break. VIX cash off about 1/3 of a handle, hovering, bouncing right off that 12 handle. Doesn't seem like it wants to dance around it. Actually, it briefly did. Got down to 1198 a little while ago. Then it immediately bounced off it up to about 1215 or so. So it's been flirting. It's been bouncing off this 12 handle. It refuses to break it with any sort of severity to the downside. We'll see if that can be maintained throughout the entirety of the show. But since we're talking VIX, let's head back out to the hinterlands. First off, Mr. Rock Lobster. A, did you enjoy the Survivor Series this weekend? And then B, what do you make of our old friend VIX Cash repeatedly bouncing off that 12 handle today, sir?
The Survivor Series? Was there something on television that I missed?
We were just talking about it, all the fun WWE. I figured you flew in and the family just for it this weekend here in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. I think the TV is a great thing for other people to watch. Other than that, Vol is, well, take a look-see here. I think we have So I was, you remember the old days, right, Mark, when you used to, you kind of run your sheets forward and push the vol down because the weekend's coming and you got all this stuff. That's what I was telling some of my students, and our customers at Option Pit, like, this is a day you're starting to roll your sheets forward and you're going to push the vol down. And I think it's one of those days. I figure we're trading Thursday. It's not Monday, it's Thursday. So I expect VIX to be going down. The S&P 500, I think I'm going to save that for Mr. Tucson. And I think the market wants like this trade deal in the worst way ever. And I don't know if obviously it wants it because, again, that's a certainty thing. Stocks rise. The more uncertainty there is on like political, geopolitical, all that, whatever that stuff is, the harder it is for stocks to rise when there's a lot of uncertainty. We get more volatility. So again, we're not back in 2017 by any stretch, but I think a trade phase one announcement, the Chinese said, okay, maybe we'll start enforcing some laws. I think basically it's like, they're going to enforce some trade laws. I would think that, again, very bullish, pushing vol down. And I would say for listeners, that want to learn or look about volatility, what I'd say is like the Christmas time volatility right now. Okay, at the money in the S&P 500, right, is, I think it's like, 9% at the money? So like the D's 25, the D's ordinary, okay? The 3130 strike is a 981. So there have been times past, and when vol, they really hit vol where that actually gets to about 8%. Now, if you think about that, you're like, oh, well, that's not that big of a move, like 9.8 to 8%. But on, percentage of vol, like a percent, that is a very large relative drop, which means, 20% of the premium could come out of that strike. So right now that straddle's trading for about $63. You could take $10 out of that, $10 out of the straddle on a drop in vol. That gets it down to around $50. And that's still that's what, a 1.75% move for the S&P 500. So you're looking at vol, you're looking at grind down. So all of that actually is pretty normal if the market expects, positive upside news at some point. So I think all those things were rallying with the drop in vol, and so you keep an eye on that number, like the 3130 line in the S&P 500. Are they hitting that vol very hard? And as I look at it today, there's a little drop in the vol, but it's not like they're not really crushing it. And I think part of the reason why that's happening is like we're getting what I would say that nice solid up move, but again, there's still like a little bit of let's call it reticence, I think, in the marketplace. So I'd like to see an actual sellers of that vol. And the last thing I will say before I let it go is there is still extremely healthy premium in the VIX futures curve. Actually, Mark and I came up with a RayDalio trade on Friday, which we really liked, to take advantage of like the Jan-March structure. So all of those futures are very high in the back end still. So this is a really odd case for the market where like short-term vol is very kind of bullish, positive, stocks going up, but there is huge future premium. There's like the Feb is $5.50 over cash fix right now, which is about $1 above where it normally is. So at least for right now, nobody is selling that back month yet. And if I saw that back month coming in, I would just get out of the way on the upside. But a lot of other like blogosphere types like that. The fact that those are so expensive means that like the long SPY, SPX, people being long, are just, buying futures and keeping long equities, looking for a potential upside pop, So I still think that is there. So it's not going to surprise me if we have any positive news that the upside just goes freaky, strange, parabolic. And I'll leave it right there. That's at least what I think how the vol term structure is pointing to me. And I'm betting that same way, by the way, full disclosure.
Freaky, strange, and parabolic. That can be summed up to describe many things here on this one program. But, of course, you're talking about that much ballyhooed Bridgewater trade, which you talked about on Volatility Views last week, which is hitting the network, I believe, as we speak, listeners. If you missed it live, podcast hitting there now, so you guys can check it out. Don't listen. If you're listening live, don't check it out now. Wait till after the show. But other than that, you should be able to check it out. Interesting stuff, of course, this big write-up in the Journal about is Bridgewater betting the farm against the market melting down in the next few months? And the short answer is no. Of course, they were hedging their long equity position, and they came out and pretty much said exactly that. But on the flip side, they also did spend a lot of money for a very near-term hedge. So that in and of itself, if you didn't have some concerns about near-term downside, you probably wouldn't go out and spend $1 billion plus, which, again, the Journal is just fixated on. They love quoting net premium outlays for some reason. But that's what they gravitate towards. They wouldn't spend that much money unless they thought something perhaps may be afoot, in the next few months. Let's head back on out to the land of St. Charles. Uncle Mike, sir, while you weren't busy glued to the fistic finery of this weekend's events, what's been catching your eye here in today's market activity?
Never before in the history of the entire stock market, ever, has there ever been a better chance to sell or a better time to sell than right now? Now, with that, of course, there might be a better time to sell tomorrow. But based on today, we have new all-time highs in the market. So a lot of excitement going on. And a lot of gamma really starting to come in for those of us that bought out of the money calls a while ago. So a lot of excitement going on along those lines. I think that the only thing that concerns me about today's rally is the fact that, of course, it is a holiday week. And so you never know if the big money, this is the big money or the real money that's driving this rally. Or is it just, just a bunch of guys out there trading, I guess. I don't know, that because all the big money is out on vacation for the week. So it's a holiday week. So you need to be mindful of that when making the analysis on this. But I think that with what's lighting up my tape right now, the main thing is the markets in and of themselves, after having that horrific pullback of 0.2% that we were talking about last week. The markets are really starting to move, but it's still, I think, climbing the wall of worry type of rally. But I think that if we do get a trade deal, I also think that I'm also kind of in Andrew's camp, and that if we do get a trade deal, that the market could really go parabolic. And I'm kind of betting that way, too, in the short-term trading portfolio as well. So I think that with everything that we have going at this stage with a trade deal, I think that's the major news at this point. We're not waiting on any court rulings. We're not waiting on any earnings announcements of any significance. So I think that we have a lot of things that are going on at this stage, but a lot of those things just have a lot to do with impeachment, trade deals, and all eyes are on Washington right now, I think.
That is indeed the case, which is unfortunate because you can't really do any technical or fundamental analysis to try to predict Washington. Washington is its own beast, and the same thing out of Beijing and Shanghai. So, of course, we'll have to just wait and see. You can't really draw a graph to predict what's going to happen down there in D.C. Let's head on out now to the most uncomfortable of hot seats, where Mr. Last Data Krypton bravely holding it down here today, squirming. When Colin's on, it's the Iron Throne. Today, it's just a very, 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 very hot seat. Mr. Trey, sir, it's an interesting day, a short, truncated holiday week here in the U.S. What are the Fidelity masses? What are they trading up today, sir?
Yeah, so the Fidelity customers are still quite busy here today. So number one on our list of orders by Fidelity customers, so most traded by Fidelity customers today, is Tesla. So probably no surprise there. Been an interesting couple of days here in the news for Tesla. I was going to ask, but I just assume you guys already pre-ordered your own Cybertrucks. I can't imagine everyone.
I was going to till I heard the windows aren't actually bulletproof, and then I was out. I was there for the bulletproof because, we have a certain level of notoriety here on this network and celebrities. If I need to drive around in a bulletproof vehicle, and if a stupid metal ball is going to break it, I'm out.
You need to know that it actually can block a bullet. So, but what a funny show, and that segment was good for some entertainment. But so the stock had a little bit of a sell-off here after that. It was trading right around this 352, 360 range last Thursday. Friday dipping as low as right around this $330 point after everyone saw it out there, saw the Cybertruck. But a little bit of a bounce back here today. Trading right now at $337, up about $4.83. So Mr. Musk tweeting out that they've already had about 200,000 pre-orders here. So, and you actually have to put $100 down to pre-order. So they bring in a nice $20 million over the weekend. So seems there was some interest in the truck. Stock's got a little bit of a pop off of that news here. And Fidelity customers kind of leading to the buy side on Tesla here today, about 61% buys. To 39% sells. And it seems like it was only a few months ago we were looking at the options on Tesla, looking at maybe those 100 strikes or even, somewhere around that $10, $15 range. But the stock, since then made quite a bit of a comeback here. Big jump up from June to July, a little pullback on earnings. Here, but after the October earnings, big gap up and just been really rallying since then. So certainly positive, from a chart standpoint, broke all above its, 50, 200-day moving averages over in that period of time. And, between Friday and today, kind of sitting right at that 20-day moving average. So kind of an area I'll be paying attention to here. But, certainly, also news driven here, more announcements out about the truck, some of the positivity or negativity there could drive this one way or the other. In terms of some other levels, if it does manage to, actually kind of pull back up and reverse, that 350, 360 range for those recent peaks will be an area to be paying attention to. Above that is back to the year highs, right around 377, 378 range where it hit in December. Be interesting to see if it can carry some of this, momentum or not. It has pulled back quite a bit from the start of the day, so at least, very short term. Not getting a lot of carry through as it looked like it was going to be in pre-market and early hours here this morning. Option market, still keeping pretty heavy here in Tesla. 90-day ADVs right around 256,000, already traded 236,000. Coming in a little bit heavier on the call side here today, about 126,000 to 109,000 puts. So no big difference in a skew there between calls and puts, but quite a bit of action here in the option market. So next one that caught the eyes of Fidelity customers here today, coming in at number 2 was ROKU. And ROKU's kind of been on our list here for a while. It seems Fidelity customers have been in and out of this one, had some interest in it. And sitting today right at 50-50 even split between buys and sells. Not much actually going on in the news here for ROKU today. So not sure exactly where the eyes were on specifically, but, looking at the chart, have seen kind of an interesting range those last few days here. So ROKU hit its highs back here in September, right? Actually crossed above the 170 point. Since then, had a big sharp sell-off all the way down to about $100. Caught some traction there, trading sideways, but reversed back off of that. But last week and a half here, it's been sitting right around this 160 point, kind of back and forth, slowly starting to consolidate, tightening in that range through this period. So possibly keeping an eye on this technical range, right? Doesn't manage to break out to the upside, take us back to those year highs, or maybe are we due for another leg down here as well? Still holding above most of its moving averages pretty substantially here. That's a 200-day moving average, just hitting that 100 point. Just kind of speaks to the, big momentum that it had on that initial upward move going into that September high. Option markets, here on ROKU, not too busy here today, only about 96,000 volume compared to its usual 200,000 90-day average. But most of that coming on the call side here, about 62,000 to 34,000 puts, and pretty split between buys and sellers here on ROKU. So last one I'll mention here today from the orders by Fidelity customers is coming in at number 4. Big update here today, which was NVDA here. So trading at $220.13, up $9.24, so just over 4%. So big day, here for NVIDIA. I did have an analyst upgrade, which seems to be the news that was propelling that here as well. I thought the chart was very interesting, kind of like the ROKU chart here. We saw this kind of consolidation sideways range really since about the beginning of November. Right, NVIDIA has been trading kind of back and forth, small moves, and that incorporates an earnings announcement. Right, didn't have much of a reaction off of earnings, had a kind of a quick downturn, but immediately came back and just been sitting around that 210 or so range. Here back and forth over November. So we're kind of watching it when it gets in these ranges to see if it does have that breakout one way or another, see if it can get above that resistance. So today's move, taking us out of that sideways range up to this 220 point. So certainly some, interesting chart moves here on NVIDIA. Still has a way to go to get to its all-time highs here. Back, remember this was a stock that was almost $300, right around $290 was the high back in October of 2018. Sold all the way off to $130 here in about 2 months. Hit those lows towards the end of December of last year with the rest of the market, but just a much steeper sell-off. Has been having some trouble since then, but finally broke above those 50, 200-day moving averages. Has been holding those since the earnings prior to this last one back here in August. So it's had a nice little uptrend, broke above some of the other ranges here from April and maybe from last November. But interesting move here today. Option market kind of leaning pretty heavy on the bull side here today. You've got 100,000 calls to 56,000 puts, trading about 160,000 contracts just under right now for the day. It's usually 117,000. So you've got maybe a little bit of follow through and some interest in option sentiment here today. That was about 26,000 calls bought versus 20,000 calls sold here. And, Fidelity customers kind of going the opposite way of the option market, leaning a little bit on the sell side, maybe taking advantage of this upward move as a potential exit of about 55% sells to 45% buys here. So, but those were the three that kind of stuck out here today. Not a lot going on from the news and earnings standpoint here today, aside from Tesla, but maybe some interesting technical levels that some of the Fidelity customers are paying attention to.
Thank you for that, sir. Let's see what the rest of the broad market is paying attention to outside of the Fidelity Legion. Coming into the middle of the show here, we're seeing decent numbers on the tape here today. VIX doing about 225,000 contracts. The ADV is a little bit north, just ticked back over that 400K level, 402 to be precise right now. Still light, but nowhere near as light as it was a week or two ago. SPY at about 1.4 million or so. The ADV is about 2.5 million right now. The S holding steady at about 575,000 contracts. The ADV also a little bit north of 1 million. The Qs at about 350 on the tape with about the ADV of about 514,000 contracts. And the Russell, a.k.a. the IWM version, with about 325,000 contracts. The ADV a little bit shy of that, actually, 287. So IWM Russell, small cap, lighting it up out there today. Let's go out there to the most active individual options, see what you folks are slinging today. Cost you a fairly respectable $1.28 to break into the top 10 today. That would get you to number 10 with Amazon here, 128,000. Number 9, good old Baba, 134,000. Number 8, GE, $1.40 on the tape. Number 7, the aforementioned NVIDIA, trading it up. And Fidelity trading it up in the broad market as well, $1.56 on the tape. Number 6, Facebook, $1.60 on the tape. Number 5, Disney, 187,000 contracts. Number 4, perennial top 10er AMD at a whopping 210 right now. And then good old Cybertruck, a.k.a. Tesla. People, I've never seen a worse demo fail, and yet 200,000 pre-orders. What's the old saying? No PR is bad, no news is bad. Apparently, because people thought that was the inflection point for Tesla. Maybe trying a little bit too hard with the font and the crazy Mad Max truck and the demo fail. Maybe that was it. Apparently, 200,000 people disagreeing. They want that truck in their driveway or on their work lots. So there you go. 233,000 contracts also trading today. So maybe every one of those people who pre-ordered the truck also bought a one lot. And then number 2 here, we've got good old Teva, 235,000 contracts. So just eking past Tesla. And number 1, I think you can guess, Apple, a little bit north of 250,000 contracts, or the number one spot. Let's look here really quickly. The most biased paper actually is Disney, with 85% of that 187,000 contracts coming on the call side of the ledger. Interesting that we very rarely, can't remember one time actually, where we've had a top 10 name that was biased to the puts. I don't think it's ever happened. It's always calls, which is kind of interesting. If a name was biased to the puts, that would be intriguing perhaps in a different way. Of course, we still have some names. It is a truncated holiday week, but there are still some names popping off here this week from an earnings perspective. Remember, if you want to find all those nuggets, all that info, all the earnings move and earnings move results reports, you know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com. Click on that options news and articles tab at the top right corner of the homepage to begin that journey. You will see names like today after the bell. We've got Hewlett-Packard, the Enterprise Edition over there. We've got tomorrow, we're coming up on Black Friday. A lot of eyes are on retail. Well, Best Buy is popping off before the bell tomorrow. Dick's as well, Uncle Mike's favorite, Dollar Tree. I know he's very excited about that. Burlington Coat Factor, Abercrombie & Fitch, Cracker Barrel. If you like yourself some good country-style fried chicken, you got them popping off tomorrow as well. You got VMware and Autodesk and HP, good old traditional HP after the bell on Tuesday, as well as Box and a few others. And John Deere even persisting, coming off on Wednesday. Interesting day to announce your earnings. But c'est la vie, John Deere popping off. So there still are some names even on an otherwise truncated holiday week. You want the breakdown for all of those and more, theoptionsinsider.com is the place to go. Meanwhile, it's time for us to go. Going to mix things up a little bit because we're not doing a show on Thursday. We thought we'd give you guys some extra doses of what you like. So let's kick it off here with a special holiday edition of the Strategy Block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody. It's that time. It's time for Uncle Mike to come on down from the mountain, stone tablets in hand, to dispense some options, wit, and wisdom. First off, Uncle Mike, must take you a long time to carve those stone tablets. I don't envy you that task. And then B, what do you have in store for us on this truncated holiday week here, sir?
Well, in terms of stone tablets, I'll leave that one to God. God kind of does it quick. And if you watch the 10 Commandments and the Charlton Heston movie, God does a better job of carving stone tablets than I do. So, and in terms of coming down from the mountain, me and my smoking jacket, whereas I don't smoke, so it's actually probably one of the best smelling smoking jackets that you can imagine, since I don't smoke.
Yeah,
so
very clean.
There you go. So we're still waiting on God to carve the stone tablets and keeping a very hygienic smoking jacket. So what I want to talk to everyone about today is just the old adage: when do I sell and when do I take profits? So in other words, in terms of when do I sell, if the trade's going against you, you need to have your risk management in place beforehand. But what I want to talk about today is when do you actually sell if, let's say, just a long call is going your way? Well, that's kind of tough. That's really one of the hardest things for a lot of traders to do, because if you initially have a good sentiment on a stock, the stock goes higher and you're right. And so you feel very good about yourself at that point in time. And so at that stage, when do you take profits, you need to have this planned out before you get into the trade, by the way. But if you don't take profits when you're supposed to take profits, you're asking for trouble. And here's what you're messing with from a standpoint of the psychological aspect of trading. You're already euphoric because the trade went your way and you feel like a genius. And the second you sell that trade, the euphoria is over. You got to start looking for another trade. You don't have that good feeling anymore. So one of the main reasons you need to have all these things planned out before you get into the trade is so you don't let the euphoria help you to feel things and see things that aren't really there. So when doing so, the first thing that you can do when taking a trade, or one method that you can do if a trade's going your way, whether it's for stocks, long options, or futures contracts for that matter, you can scale out. So in other words, you know that when you make X percent, you're going to sell half your position. Then maybe when you make the next X, percent, you're going to sell another half of your position. So let's say you had, in theory, 100 contracts. You sell 50 of them when it gets to a certain point, sell another 25 at a certain point. And then once it gets to another point, sell another 10, and then maybe just let 5 ride. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers so you can get an idea of it. But that's one method with which you can actually use that for scaling things on the way up. Another thing with which you can roll up. So let's say that you're trying to make money off of gamma. You can, as soon as the stock goes a certain percentage and gets from a 70 delta to a 90 delta, well, then at that stage you can roll up to another 70 delta. That's another way with which you can actually kind of scale without scaling. Now, of course, the disadvantage of that is that you need to understand that you're buying more time decay on the way up, but have the understanding of how you can work it, how you can manage it, how you can, as a wise man once said, do stuff. One thing that I think that I see people do that I'm not a huge fan of, but I could kind of sort of, is legging into a spread. So in other words, let's say you buy a long call, the stock goes your way, and then at that stage you're going to sell a short call against it once it goes your way just a little bit. I'm not a fan of that, just because as you're doing it, if stock's going your way, you're going to be selling a lesser amount of volatility. Now, yeah, I understand the fact that with the delta going higher, you'll ultimately bring in more dollars, most likely. But when you're doing that, you're taking away the whole initial advantage of what a spread can be in the first place, and that's to mitigate risk. So I'm of the school of thought that I don't like legging into spreads when things are going my way for that reason. Now, there is an exception to it when we have very high volatility, fast-moving markets, which I've talked about on this show before, but typically I'm not a fan of legging into spreads. Another thing with which you can do is a trailing stop. And you can do this based on a contingency, or you can do this based on the price of the option itself. So let's say you buy a call option for $3. As soon as that, and let's say, you know what, I'm fine with losing all $3 because that's a smaller percentage of my portfolio. Well, as soon as that option gets up to, so that's your downside risk, it's a small position, let's say. As soon as that option gets up to $5, you put in your stop loss at $4.50. As soon as the option gets up to $7, you put in your stop loss at $6, or whatever the case may be. You can do that as well. The only thing I would caution on about a trailing stop would be, when doing so, understand that you're still vulnerable to gaps in the marketplace. So if all of a sudden overnight the stock tanks, it'll go right through your stop loss and it won't be very effective. So with that, there's no ideal, perfect way of doing this, but just have an understanding of what you need to do that fits your specific trading situations. Me personally, I use all of those techniques that I just mentioned in some way, shape, or form. Besides legging into the spread, which I actually do on a fast market days occasionally. So I think they have a place in your toolbox of trading tools, but just have an understanding of when they would work best for you with what type of trade you're trying to do and when the best time is to execute them. And that is the strategy block for today.
Thank you for that, Uncle Mike. And because we like you guys here, we're going to kick things off with a little bit of a extra holiday Thanksgiving listener mail extravaganza with the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the all-star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody. Let's do it here on the old mail block. You know, you guys always send in so many questions. We love it. And we very rarely have time to get to all of them. So we thought we'd give you guys a little bit more shine here on the show here to keep you happy, keep you sated through the holiday. Maybe you have to spend time with relatives you don't like. Maybe you're just going to be stuffed with turkey. Either way, we got you covered here on the old holiday block, Listener Mail Palooza. All right, let's kick it off here. Oh, yes. Let's kick it off here with our comment from a longtime listener, Mr. Neil Wales. The ongoing saga, the Odyssey, that is his book. From your counterpart there, the meatball, Mr. Rock Lobster, I'm pleased to say it seems like it has finally come to a satisfying conclusion. Neil writes, "Hi, Mark. Neil from Australia here. Just wanted to advise you that with the help of the wonderful Lisa at Option Put, I think he means Option Pit, Mark S. managed to get my end-of-the-year winners book to me finally. He said me receiving it made his day. Must have had a shocker. Laugh out loud. Well, there you go. If you remember, listeners, I do believe Neil, he won our guessing of the VIX at the end of last year contest. So quite some time ago, almost a year. He was eerily on, as I recall. He was pretty much spot on with his prognostication. So hopefully the regulators didn't chase him down. But then he has the temerity to live outside these fine continental United States. So Mark was sending books to the winners, and apparently Neil over there in Australia was a bridge too far. And the poor guy, he just wanted his book. He kept asking and kept asking. I kept bugging Mark. He kept bugging Mark. And finally, it sounds like they made it happen. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, does that bring a smile to your face that the year-long odyssey, the saga that was Neil getting his free book from the Meatball finally came to an end, sir?
I'm quite happy that the saga came to an end, but ultimately, when you want something from Option Pit, just ask Alicia. Don't ask Mark. Alicia at optionpit.com.
That sounds like,
and you will get what you want.
That sounds like good advice. Yeah, going to Mark for any sort of day-to-day things, not the place you want to go. So, Neil, I'm glad you got your book. Enjoy it. You certainly earned it. Your stick-to-itiveness, your devotion to that cause was impressive. So, as was your prognostication for VIX. We'll have to do that again at the end of this year. We'll see if you can make it 2 in a row. In which case, if you do, may have to call the regulators on you because that was pretty darn airy how close you were last year. All right, moving on next week. Let's see, JHRPR. He's writing in saying, I'm just getting started in the market. I bought Apple and GE options last week. You think I'm just getting lucky or am I doing something correct? Well, this market, there is a lot of that ladder in there. There's a lot of that luck, a lot of that tailwind. Nothing wrong with getting lucky on your first trades. It certainly is a nice feeling. We get a lot of these inquiries, as you might imagine, along this line. So we wrote back to him saying, give us some input on what you're actually doing that could help us, aside from just randomly buying calls. And that could maybe help us give you some insight. He wrote back saying, I'm still trying to learn a strategy. Basically, I think I'm getting lucky. What would you point me into as a direction? Let me try that over. It's hard to read here. Would you point me in the direction? What would you point me in the direction of as a beginner? Options make sense to me and seem more likely to gain a profit. Well, we're with you there on the latter portion. This is an interesting one. I got to imagine, Mr. Last Data Krypton, you get inquiries like this quite a bit, probably every day over there in the Fidelity hot seat, even when you're not on the hot seat, when you're over there answering the actual active trader calls over there. So we got Mr. or Mrs. JHPR. They're kind of just willy-nilly diving in and buying calls in Apple and GE, 2 good names to be buying calls in recently. So he sounds like he's doing all right, but he has, outside of that, doesn't sound like he has any wherewithal at all for where to begin. First off, Mr. JHPR, I would recommend you check out our Options Bootcamp program. That program is pretty much designed for you, a non-options trader coming to options for the first time. It kind of holds your hand. Many, many episodes there now. You can listen to those at your leisure, of course. Go back, check out some Uncle Mike's strategy blocks, some good learning done in there as well. But Mr. Last Data Krypton, sir, when someone calls you up with this kind of basic starter question, where do you point them, sir?
Great question. I'd say, probably 99 out of 100 calls, it's the exact opposite, though. I bought these calls just to learn about it, and I'm losing a lot of money. So, being the one that's getting right, certainly a good thing here as well. I'd say it's always important, when you're trading options, you're trading anything. I just want to speak to the importance of having a plan. Whenever you put on a contract, you should have an idea of, your outlook on both the underlying price as well as time and volatility. You don't want to forget those components. Have an exit plan in place as well. Even having a plan, certainly a little luck always helps here as well. The other thing I'd mention too, Mark mentioned some of the classes there. We offer classes at Fidelity. Anywhere you go, here, any of these guys on the show have some way of helping you out. Make sure you have that good, firm understanding of options and, specifically that good understanding of risk that you're taking on here as well. Make sure you're comfortable with it. Some strategies, right, can be very expensive if we're wrong. here in your case, if you're buying calls, right, risk is going to be limited to the premium you pay. And also say, too, throw it in a pricing calculator, right? We've got a profit-loss calculator. If you're thinking about putting in a trade, put in the contracts, run through some scenarios. Hey, what happens if I'm right? What happens if price goes up? What happens if I'm wrong and price goes down? The calculator will tell you what that option premium is going to be, approximately valued at in those situations. Really helps you start to plan and understand your risk a little bit better when you see how fast some of these moves can benefit or hurt you as well. So that's all I have. But definitely, good to see you're on the right side of things with that one, as many of these tend to be the other way.
Yeah, that's got to be pleasant for you, sir, that someone calling, or in this case, writing in with a happy scenario. It's not, hey, I lost a boatload of money. What can I do now to make that back? He's got some cash in his pocket. He's feeling happy, which is always good. He's asking where he could go to learn. Mr. Rock Lobster, if only I knew of a place that specialized in such options-oriented learning. Do you perhaps have any suggestions for Mr. or Mrs. JHRPR? Maybe you got something oriented more towards the uber basic. Maybe you got some special deals you can offer this guy here because he took the time to write in.
Yeah, we have something called BETS, BETS. It's a basic option strategy. Mark did a video. Go to optionpit.com and just search for BETS. And it's basically a strategy based on, what your outlook is for the underlying time frame, the what we'll just call the velocity of the underlying, and the strategy. So what you try to do is you think of all of the, you're breaking down what makes an option work, right? And then you create the strategy of, it's like basically helping you to fill out a flow chart for how you would choose an option strategy. So, do I buy them? Do I sell them? Do I get long? Do I get short? What's this volatility thing? All of these factors that make an option move. What I found teaching people about options is it's better to teach them how the option works and then to fill that out. So that's just a free thing at Option Pit. You can go to our YouTube channel and get it. If you want the slide deck, let me know. But it's an easy way we're trying to make options easier for people. So it's an easier way to kind of understand how all that works. And once you get in the notion of, wow, you have to have a little opinion, you've got to have like an outlook or a story for the underlying. You have to understand, a velocity, because that kind of gives you a sense of, do I buy options or do I sell options? You get a sense of the time frame. Is it a 1 week trade? Is it a 3 month trade, 6 month? Am I an investor? And then lastly, like the strategy. And with options, there's always an optimum strategy to express what you want. So once you learn to go through this process, and you do it every time, I do it every time, and the longer you do it, the quicker the answers will come to you, the type of strategy you want. Then you look at the risk reward and you see if you have something decent. So I'm glad that person wrote in, and I think it's smarter than to say, hey, did I just get lucky, or am I really good at this? And I would say if you don't know anything about options and you made money the first time, you picked the right thing. You did a lot of things right, but don't discount the fact that you were a little lucky, and understand maybe like, okay, now how do I do this going forward? So, but you get that for free on our YouTube channel. You can't get any cheaper than that.
There you go. Give him a follow over there. Subscribe on the old YouTubes at Option Pit. Hit up Andrew as well. Andrew at optionpit.com. Tell him you're the guy who was on Twitter. Or just find him on Twitter at OptionVol and tell him, hey, you're the guy who asked that question. I'm sure he'll have some interesting, maybe fun freebies and nuggets for you over there in the land of the pit. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. This guy here, Market Doll Queen, apparently likes himself some AMD. We were talking earlier this week about AMD stock closing at its highest level in 13 years, and he wrote in to say, and it's going even higher. She ain't done yet. So apparently AMD is a she, and this guy likes it. Well, there you go, Mr. or Mrs. Market Doll Queen. Maybe a lady. Who knows? Okay. You like your AMD. We won't hold it against you. Let's see. Tell 8HJE. That's a mouthful. He wants to know, Why aren't there free commissions on options? Just 65 cents for every contract. Well, Mr. Last Data Krypton, as our duly appointed broker representative here, all blame goes on your shoulders. You make all the pricing decisions at Fidelity, as we know. Why don't you explain to Mr. and Mrs. Tel 8 HJ why can't they get them their free options, sir?
Well, you still got to pay me and the other guys here to answer the calls and help you out with the strategy desk. Here as part of it, but no, it's certainly a great time, though. I mean, they were $4.95 plus 65 cents, so they've come down even further. Options. Certainly going to be some additional complexity. We have to have the tools and resources available with you here on that one. So, but like everything, we'll see how it pans out. I didn't expect us to get to zero on stocks anytime, probably in my lifetime, but sure enough, we did. So it'll be interesting to see what the future brings. But still 65 cents a contract. What a great time. I mean, if you're any small trader out, you're just getting started trading a small number of contracts. I mean, it's just a tiny portion here now. So maybe get some new people into to options that maybe haven't thought about it here before.
Since we're on the Fidelity platform, really quickly here, Side Barrel wants to know, can he trade futures options on the Fidelity platform? Mr. Last Data Krypton, what do you got for him, sir? Can he sling his crude options and everything else over there?
So you can't trade futures contracts here at Fidelity. So we're not in the futures business. However, options on filters or on futures, any listed options you can. So, for example, like VIX options, all of those are going to be fine to trade here. But as of now, no futures trading here for Fidelity.
There you go, Mr. and Mrs. Side Barrel. Ask and you shall receive. We got a chiming in here from our old buddy. He listens all the time, Mr. Mark Brandt. He's tweeting in about the losses mounting for the different cannabis stocks, and he just writes in that their existence at any price is astounding. The very existence of these names, so I don't think it's any secret. He's a fan of this sector, so clearly he's still liking what's going on out there. We got a question here from Camilla, an interesting one. I might have to table this one because it's not quite the time yet, but Camilla wants to know, do we have any options predictions for 2020? That's a good question. I think we will do our prediction show. That's what Neil won last year, but not usually pre-Thanksgiving. A little too early for that yet. So, Camilla, we will table this one, and we will come back to your predictions request later on in the year when it's more suitable. We still have a whole month to go, a month and change to go. Anything could happen. We all know December last couple of years wasn't exactly the quiet, tranquil period everyone expected. So, a lot could happen between now and the end of the year. So, we'll come back to that, Mr. and Mrs. Camilla. And then let's do one more quick one here. I'd love to squeeze as many of you folks in as I can. Ninja Jim says, damn, that Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus for $12.99. People just chiming in with their pricing ideas. That's actually not a bad blanking deal. I thought Disney was going to charge more. Well, there you go. An unrequested plug for the pricing of Disney Plus. Glad you're enjoying it out there, Ninja Jim. We got to keep on rolling, though. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, it is time to go around the block. We're going a little bit farther than usual this time. Usually we go out to Thursday, to our next show. There is no show on Thursday, and obviously it's a holiday. We're going to go all the way out to the end of the week and through the weekend until we gather back here together on the show this time next Monday. Uncle Mike, a lot to unpack between now and then. We got the holiday, shortened trading week, got Black Friday, a big day for the retailers. Next time we all gather together, it'll be Cyber Monday. So I may be too busy scoring deals to even host the show. We'll see. But, of course, I'll be here, listeners. But a lot to unpack, I should say, between now and then. What is on your radar, Mr. Uncle Mike, until the next time we all gather here together?
Watching the White House, watching to see if there's any type of trade deal. I'm not expecting one this week. I think there's going to be news is just going to get slower and slower throughout the week. Of course, I could be wrong. You never know. Watching for that, watching to see if we can get to the 3150 level on the SPX. I think that's the next key number level. And then last but not least, I say this every Thanksgiving, as Andrew and Mark are probably rolling their eyes right now, you should have already sold your pumpkin futures by now. Make sure you buy some Christmas tree futures and stay away from turkeys because they have no future at this point.
I like it. Well said, sir. How funny would it be if they announce a trade deal on Thanksgiving, middle of the holiday? Markets are closed. Oh, we got a deal everyone's waited for over a year, and it happens that day. How ironic would
the most active Black Friday trading day in history?
Yes, that would be something to see. Forget the lines crashing your local mall or your local Best Buy. It'll be the lines stampeding to your local brokerage account to trade it up. I'm sure, Mr. Last Data Krypton, you'd like to see something like that, to have a little bit of action over there on Black Friday. So between all of that, what are you watching for the course of this coming week until we can all gather here back together on that national holiday known as Cyber Monday, sir?
Yeah, still a busy week, and would love to hear that announcement on Thursday. I do have the day off Friday, but definitely would have to come in if we've got a trade deal for that. So only downside I could think of. But interesting week with everything kind of pushed forward. Ton of economic data out on Wednesday. GDP, durable goods, jobless claims pushed up a day. So could be an interesting morning to keep an eye on those. Still had a couple earnings reports here, as you mentioned earlier this week. Kind of in the theme of watching some of the retailers. You have Best Buy tomorrow. I think that might be interesting. Chart's been interesting. Been in this big sideways trading action between about 62 and 77 here since close to the beginning of the year. And kind of heading back towards the middle of that range. Option market was looking for just over a $5 expected move here at the money straddle on it here, trading at $74.79. If it was upward move, puts it right at the top of that range here. So I'll be curious to see that one, as well as GameStop on Wednesday here too. So a stock that's certainly had its fair share of troubles here recently, really beaten down, coming up a little bit off of its lows here in August. Here it was down to about $3, up to about $6 here right now in December. So I'll kind of keep an eye on that one here on Wednesday. Seem to be the only one of that and Deere as well on Wednesday of interest, but might be a little more of an economic activity driving things that day. But that's what's got my eye here for the next couple of days.
Thank you for that, Mr. Last Data Krypton. And Mr. Rock Lobster, take us home, sir. What are you watching until we can all gather here together on Monday?
Well, I'm watching VIX because that's all I do. It's a full life. However, you know what? Another thing I'm watching is my favorite stock to trade on a bounce is Twitter. It's full disclosure. I own a lot of gamma in this stock. So really weird. They didn't like it. I'm seeing a lot more ads in our Twitter feed. Ophir said, I don't know. I don't think he has an interest in it, but I do trade it on dips. I accumulate it, and this is one of those times where I'm looking at, I guess, trade deal. But I'd like to see us print some crazy low VIX number prior to the holiday. I'd like to see 1125, something that's saying they think the trade deal is going to get done. So I know there's 4 days basically of decay to come out. We're probably 25% into that. And I'll just see how low it can go. But you know what? Thanksgiving Day present on a trade deal, the guy that runs The Apprentice and is now president, you never know. You never know what surprises could happen.
Well, we've all seen some surprises over the last couple of years. That much is certain. All right. Unfortunately, listeners, no surprise. We got to bring this traveling road show to a close. Before we go, let's go back around the horn exactly the way we came. Let's start with the Rock Lobster, sir. Folks, or Mr. Rock Lobster, I should say, if folks are like our listener, I'm forgetting their name here, JHPR or something like that. They want to learn more about options. They want a place to go. Where should they go? What should they do, sir?
Go to optionpit.com, and we're going to have a Black Friday sale like no other, where we're going to have great discounts on all Option Pit stuff. So if you want to learn how to trade options and how they work, just wait for Black Friday, and we're knocking it out of the park with a sale.
There you go, listeners. If you want some deals, Black Friday, Option Pit, not immune to the savings. Everybody wants some savings on Black Friday. Get in line. Where should they line up for the Black Friday deal? Where are the doorbusters happening, mister? Should they go to your house or Mark's house?
Oh, go to Mark's house for sure. Break down the door out there in Riverside, Illinois. So, me, you'll never find me because I'm in the woods.
There you go. That's why he moved to the hinterlands, listeners. He doesn't have the Black Friday crowd. So go line up outside the meatball store, and when he doesn't open it at 6 a.m., just break it down and go in. He'll welcome such things. All right, optionpit.com is the place to go. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if folks are intrigued, maybe they don't want it, maybe they're like that listener, but they don't even want to do it themselves. They want someone to maybe do it for them. Where should they go? What should they do?
stcharleswealth.com, and I'll even sweeten Black Friday a little bit. If you call me and become a client or verbally commit to becoming a client today, tomorrow, or Wednesday, I'll even throw in a $100 Option Pit gift card for you to take to the boys over at Option Pit for Black Friday, for new clients only, of course. But nonetheless, check out my website and give me a call.
There you go. Give them a call. Check them out, stcharleswealth.com, to learn more. And last but not least, Mr. Last Out of Crypto. I don't know if you guys have any particular Black Friday deals. Maybe you do. Maybe the options will be 45 cents a contract on Black Friday trading. But if folks want to kick the tires over there at Fidelity, maybe they want to reach out to you guys in between your show appearances, where should they go? What should they do, sir?
Yeah, you can head on over to fidelity.com/options, learn a little bit more about our trading platform, our options offering. You can check out our Learning Center on fidelity.com, too. This is where we list all of our upcoming classroom and coaching sessions. So maybe for those new option traders want to learn a little bit more, check it out. Or just call Fidelity, ask for the trading strategy desk. You can ask for myself, any of my colleagues here. Happy to help you out and see if we can get you going on your strategies.
There you go. Check them out, fidelity.com/options, to begin your journey. And unfortunately, this is the end of our journey, at least for this week. But we'll be back again next week. Hope you guys have a great holiday week here. And if you're outside the U.S., well, then we hope you just have a great week in general. Listen to the network. We'll have some fun stuff hitting there in between, maybe some best ofs and other stuff. So we won't leave you out in the cold entirely. And we'll be back again next Monday to do it all again on the Option Block.
The Option Block is brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.